Are you feeling like you are actually being yourself, which actually means that you are building your authenticity factor, which is like a huge thing in business? Hello, welcome to Tea Time. I'm super excited to see you this week. We are going to spill a whole bunch of tea all about your business online. And today we're going to talk about your offline expression, which is a term that has come up in my community in the last quarter. And I thought it was really interesting how many people kind of scratched their heads at the idea of their offline expression. As in, when you're not doing your business and you're not on Zoom all the time and you're not trying to be on all the time, who are you? So I thought, let's dig into it this week. So what we're talking about here is that you are more than your business, which I think should kind of go without saying, but I don't know that we can talk about this enough these days, because with the post-pandemic world that we live in, even if you were already a Zoom veteran, like some of us around here, chances are you noticed that the demands on your online presence and brand, definitely went up. So what we want to do here is investigate, like, what is your offline expression? Are you still in alignment with the things that feel good to you? Are you doing enough of them? Are you feeling like you are actually being yourself, which actually means that you are building your authenticity factor, which is like a huge thing in business. And it actually is something that nobody else can give you except yourself. And so today I really want us to kind of dissect this just a little bit more. Being offline doesn't necessarily mean not being on the internet. What being offline means is that you are working on your own self-development outside of the demands of your brand for your business. So, Sensible Woo is pretty much a solopreneur operation. I get help from contractors here and there, but I really like having a low overhead. I like being a solopreneur. And so I am a lot of my brand. My brand also needs to grow and mature and become its own thing, as will yours. But when I'm engaging in my offline expression, what I'm really trying to do is to find that space where I am myself and where my brand is the brand. Since this video is coming out in a brand new, fresh year, I think it's a great time to look at this. And honestly, it can be a little scary if you've spent a lot of time being so consumed and wrapped up inside of your brand and trying to share yourself and figuring out that know, like, and trust factor with your community. It can feel scary to actually ask yourself things like, who am I? And what are my hobbies? And what are my likes and my dislikes? And where are my boundaries? And what is going to be the thing that I hold dear to myself this year that maybe isn't for everybody else? But then there are things that are for other people. And what we have to do is figure out what those things are and to what degree we do them. One of the things I love talking about with my incubator peeps is about Oprah, because all of us are familiar with her as a personality, and whether you love her or hate her, she's a really easy persona to look at. So when you look at Oprah, we all know Oprah in front of the camera. And I always say, there's an Oprah on the studio stage, and then there's Oprah at home. And you really want to think about this in terms of your own life. So while you feel like you really know Oprah, part of that is the longevity of time that she's been in front of a camera. You feel like you really get to know somebody in that way. But also, there are things that Oprah does at home that may be pretty close in alignment to things she puts out into the world, like her love of books and reading, for example. The librarian in me has always loved that about her. But behind the scenes at home, when she's curled up with her book in her own ritual of reading, you're not allowed into that space. She might have her marketing department show you parts of that or a staged version of that, but it's never Oprah at home. And so when you're thinking about your offline expression, you want to think about What is that ritual part of yourself? This is where we have the woo for the sensible woo. What is that ritual part for you that is just for you? So I might lead sensible woo people through metaphysical activities. We even do spell casting for business. We act like a coven. But the rituals I do with myself, by myself, are things you don't see and you will never see because it's my offline expression. But this is the clincher. My offline expression is helping me express myself more authentically to my brand because I'm really comfortable with it. I engage with it fully. I love it. It's something that I want to keep doing, and it can't help but shine through in the brand that I give to my audience. So really think about, where do you feel like you're holding back or trying to do something instead of just letting yourself be with the way that you are, letting yourself be your fullest expression, and starting with it offline, away from your audience, so that you can actually bring it online to your audience in a more authentic way. Okay, at this point, if you're like, Mary, I'm drawing a blank. Here's what I have some advice for you on. Think about things that you would choose to learn about or engage with, whether it was part of your job or not. It could be something that's really simple and doesn't cost a lot of money or isn't very complicated. I know a lot of people who got into container gardening, and it seems like, oh, everybody's doing container gardening. But you know what? It brings them joy. And honestly, as one of my incubator peeps taught me a long time ago, to grow a living plant is to grow abundance. And there's all kinds of really beautiful things that come from an activity as small as nurturing your little succulent on the windowsill and making sure it doesn't die for an entire year. It could be going to the library and getting through your ultimate list of books that you want to read. It could be taking that dance class or that cooking class or trying those recipes. But finding something that you would actually choose to do if nobody was paying you to do that is a very important skill to build that will actually help your business grow faster. So think about it. Is this something that truly recharges your batteries? Does it help contribute to your actual authentic offline expression? Or are you telling yourself, I should really get into, say, cooking because you think someone told you should do that, or you're shooting on yourself because you want to look like a particular person, you're trying to emulate them. And I am all for modeling behaviors and trying to figure out how to be something by like trying that activity on or trying on that energy or that vibe, but eventually it has to become yours. So what we're doing here is we are not copying. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is actually finding the thing that resonates with us in our soul. I find that a lot of people actually feel this in certain parts of their bodies, so you might want to try this for yourself as well. I tend to feel it a lot in my solar plexus region. That's always been a real strong literal gut check point for me, and I think it's pretty common for a lot of other people too. But other common places I've heard it from is a very warm, like heart-centered feeling. Sometimes people will feel it a little lower, like literally in their digestive tracts. There's a reason why our second chakra area is often called the second brain. Our guts, our intestines, biologically in labs, our scientists have studied it and they call it a second brain. And a lot of times you do feel things like in the core of your body. So if you're kind of like up here and you're just sort of thinking about things and you're like, well, I think, try to drop into your body and really feel as low and close to your root as you can. Does this feel right to me? Okay, so how does this all play with the systems mindset and the systems world that we use here at Sensible Woo? Well, the big thing is that when you're stuck in the doing of things, it doesn't leave much spaciousness for you to figure out, how do I resonate with the core of my being? How do I make sure that I'm still connected with that essence of me, which is your offline expression? And then this is where systems come into play. Systems are going to give you the space and the time so that you can think about deeper things. You can actually feel your way into business instead of reacting. Remember, we don't react around here. We make intentional, conscious decisions and actions. Your systems can help you regain time, focus, and energy in great quantity because it'll allow you to do things like finally actually automate a process instead of doing it manually, or delegate some simple work off your plate, and that person can actually take that work on and you're not kind of doing it along with them because you don't have any systems in place. It can also help you find better focus so you're not searching around for things. One of my favorite things in the Sensible Woo community is how many times I've heard people say that when they can't find a file, it always takes them an extra 30 minutes, like unanimously across the board. It's always 30 minutes. I don't know where that 30 minutes comes from, but for everybody, it's like it has taken me an extra 30 minutes to go dig around and find that thing. And when you think about how many 30 minutes are passing throughout your life, if you had all those combined 30 minutes back, it would give you more time to engage with that authenticity part of your branding, which helps you in this offline expression point, which then gives you a better know, like, and trust with your audience. And that whole cycle just starts to move. It's kind of like a wheel that starts to turn, and it can be really, really satisfying when it kicks in. The other thing that I love with systems when it comes to offline expression in this little wedge that we're looking at on our entrepreneurial journey today is that systems help you stop overproducing your ideas. And when we overproduce ideas, what happens is we get further away from our offline expression. We get further away from that authentic part of ourselves, and other people out in the world can really feel the overproduction as well. Things start to get real messy. It usually shows up in really obvious ways, like you're trying to launch an offer and you make people jump through too many hoops in order to get to the payment button, and they're feeling it from you, and it's starting to get kind of complicated, or the onboarding process is really confusing and too complicated. So a lot of times when you're overproducing, you'll see those things show up, which then decreases that amount of spaciousness that you can get in your days, in your weeks, in your months, and that spaciousness, or the lack thereof, takes away from you being able to participate in your offline expression. So I'm hoping that you're picking up what I'm putting down at this point. Try to give you as many examples as I can from all the client work that I've seen over the years so far. And I think these are pretty much like the top ones. Listen, I know what it's like to love your business and your journey so much that you will talk about it 24/7, 365. I never tire about talking about business topics. If I'm at a cocktail party, I will be likely to talk about what latest market research I've noticed because I find it so fascinating. So I love talking with other business people, but I also know what it's like to completely burn out, as has happened to many of the people who are semi-seasoned or pretty well seasoned in their journeys at this point. It's happened to the best of us, and one of the things we want to do here is make sure that by staying really deeply connected in our offline expression this year, that it helps us avoid getting to those stages where we do have the burnout and it takes longer to recover. We started this year with a video about a very practical way to have a magical year by looking at our mindset from both the practical, sensible, and magical woo, sensible woo perspective on building out that strong foundation so that you can really blossom and bloom fully this year. This practice of engaging with your offline expression is actually a really big part of that. It helps you take that bigger vision thinking that you did in that magical year mindset video and bring it down to the daily level so that you can take daily consistent actions, because that's where the magic is actually at, is in these small, daily, consistent, focused actions, and they end up adding up and stacking up very, very quickly. You can think of them like dropping grains of sand into a jar, and then after, quite a few grains have gone in after a few days, you notice that like the volume starts to increase, and you will actually feel this much quicker than you might think that it takes at the outset. So instead of looking for like a really big solution, try thinking about it on a daily level, and I bet you'll notice a bigger improvement quicker. The irony here is that in order to take a break from all that constant action taking, the doing, you need to take some action so that you can actually create some space for yourself. I recommend a very practical tool, which is to do time blocking on your calendar. This is going to take some experimentation and some time to figure it out. I always say it takes about 90 days with consistent action to actually feel a system start to settle into the way it's actually going to work for you. So for example, you can look at your calendar and time block, here are the times during the days when I want to get in my workout. Here are the times during the day when I want to make sure that I'm focusing on like the one super big priority that we're doing for the year. And, here is the time of the day where I'm going to say, walk my dog or go take care of my kids, go pick them up from school or et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. And what you'll do is you'll lay that out, but by living those actions, you'll actually find out if those time blocks are working for you. And so you'll be playing for about 90 days to kind of move them around and figure out what happens in real life. Because in my mind, I can think, makes sense to do like this and this and this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But in reality, that's not what happens. I'll just tell you personally, I tend to completely overestimate what I'm capable of doing in any given hour or day. And so I'll tend to overpack my days, and learning to underpack my days has been a many-year journey at this point, of which I am still extremely, totally not perfect at. And so we're not aiming for perfection here. We're just aiming for a bit of progress and a lot of self-awareness so that we can reduce those feelings of frustration. We can be kinder to ourselves. We can feel better about where we're at, wherever we're at in our journey on any given year in our business. So I hope that these practical tips really work for you. I would really give them a try, and they seem really simple, but it's usually the simplest solutions that get us the thing we need the most. So before you go and buy that big productivity system, try engaging with yourself first and try seeing what do you actually need, so that before you make that fiscal decision, you end up saving some of your professional development budget, and that will enable you to invest in better programs that are going to help you. So what we're trying to do is slow down just a little bit and make better intentional decisions rather than those really quick knee-jerk reactions. And engaging with your offline expression, ironically enough, is one of the most effective ways to help you regulate your nervous system. Who knew, right? Well, I will see you next week here. We will do another video. We're going to keep diving into these kinds of tools throughout the year. And I would really love it if you would hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, click the little bell so that you get the notifications when new videos come out. Leave me a comment. Tell me about how you feel like you are connected with your offline expression. What did you learn from this? What are you going to try doing this year? Did you have a big aha moment? I would love to know, and I will be here cheering you on, as will the whole community. So have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.